The Qin Dynasty, 221 to 206 BCE, was one of the most significant and transformative periods in Chinese history. Though it was short-lived, lasting only 15 years, it laid the foundations for imperial China and brought about critical reforms that influenced future dynasties for over 2 millennia. Founded by Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China, the dynasty marked the end of centuries of war and fragmentation during the Warring States period. Origins and unification. The Qin state originated in the western part of China in what is now modern-day Shaanxi province. During the Eastern Zhou dynasty, particularly in the Warring States period, 475 to 221 BCE, the region was divided into multiple competing kingdoms. The Qin, under a lineage of ambitious rulers, gradually grew in strength through effective military strategies, political reforms, and legalist policies. The decisive moment came in 221 BCE when the Qin conquered the last of the rival states. King Zheng of Qin declared himself Qin Shi Huangdi, or the first emperor of Qin. This marked the birth of the Qin dynasty and the first time China was united under a centralized imperial government. Governance and legalism. Qin Shi Huang implemented legalism as the official state philosophy. Legalism emphasized strict laws, harsh punishments, and absolute obedience to the state. Unlike Confucianism, which promoted moral values and social harmony, legalism focused on state control, efficiency, and order. To consolidate power and eliminate threats to his rule, Qin Shi Huang dismantled the feudal system that had existed under the Zhou dynasty. He replaced hereditary aristocrats with appointed officials loyal to the emperor. The empire was divided into administrative units, commanderies, and counties, each governed by officials appointed by the central government, not local nobility. Standardization and reforms. One of the Qin dynasty's greatest contributions was the standardization of Chinese society. Qin Shi Huang standardized weights and measures. Currency, a round coin with a square hole in the middle. Axle lengths of carts to fit the new road systems. The Chinese script, making communication across the vast empire more uniform. These reforms promoted trade, facilitated communication, and enhanced administrative efficiency. In addition, the Qin government built a vast network of roads and canals, improving transportation and military mobility. They also constructed massive infrastructure projects, including irrigation systems, which supported agricultural productivity. The Great Wall and monumental projects. One of the most iconic achievements of the Qin dynasty was the construction of the Great Wall of China. Though walls had existed earlier, the Qin connected and expanded these fortifications along the northern border to defend against nomadic tribes such as the Xiongnu. This massive project required immense labor and led to the forced conscription of hundreds of thousands of workers, many of whom died during construction. Another monumental project was the construction of Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum, guarded by the now famous terracotta army and estimated 8,000 life-sized clay soldiers and horses designed to protect the emperor in the afterlife. This extraordinary archaeological site reflects both the power and the autocratic nature of the Qin regime. Suppression and control. Qin Shi Huang feared rebellion and dissent. In an attempt to control intellectual thought, he famously ordered the burning of books and the burying of scholars alive, particularly targeting Confucian texts and scholars. This act of cultural suppression, known as the burning of books and burying of scholars, was aimed at eliminating ideological threats and consolidating legalist ideology. Fall of the Qin dynasty. Despite its accomplishments, the Qin dynasty collapsed shortly after Qin Shi Huang's death in 210 BCE. His son, Qin Ershi, lacked the charisma and capability of his father. Harsh laws, forced labor, high taxes, and the brutal repression of dissent led to widespread resentment. Rebellions erupted across the empire, most notably led by Liu Bang, later the founder of the Han dynasty, and Xiangyu. The centralized structure that had helped the Qin expand also made it vulnerable to internal instability. By 206 BCE, the dynasty was overthrown, and Liu Bang emerged victorious, establishing the Han Dynasty. Legacy. Although short-lived, the Qin Dynasty had a profound impact on Chinese history. It introduced the concept of a centralized imperial bureaucracy, set precedents for governance, and established the title of emperor, Huangdi, which would be used by Chinese rulers for the next 2,000 years. Its administrative, legal, and infrastructural reforms were so enduring that subsequent dynasties, including the Han, adopted and adapted many Qin policies. Even the name China is believed to have been derived from the word Qin, pronounced Qin. However, the dynasty's harsh methods also served as a cautionary tale about the dangers of tyranny, absolute power, and excessive reliance on legalist doctrines. The Qin dynasty is remembered as a double-edged sword, a brilliant but brutal experiment in centralized rule that shaped the soul of China. In summary, the Qin dynasty was a revolutionary era that unified China, standardized its systems, and laid the groundwork for future empires. While its reign was marked by authoritarianism and short duration, its innovations and vision of a unified Chinese state remain among the most transformative in world history.